Good morning. It's August 5th here in Zone 6. Welcome back to Mostly Tomatoes. My name is Liza. I woke up this morning and came out to the garden after we got hit by the tropical storm Isaias yesterday. We have no power. We lost our power yesterday at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. No power, no internet. So this video will not be posted until who knows when. You can probably hear the generators all around the neighborhood going. So that's why it's pretty loud. Anyways, I came out to the garden this morning, and despite my efforts to tie up the tomato poles and drive them down deeply into the ground, I did have a couple of leaning towers of tomatoes. I did have some breakage on some of the tops of the tomato plants that I hadn't topped, or I hadn't cut off the tops of the plant that grew beyond the top of the stake. So I had some bent over branches that I had to trim off this morning. I had to tie a few things up. Like I said, some of my stakes were leaning, so I tried to tie them up as best as possible. Let's take a look. So these two tomato plants, this one and this one, are the ones that were leaning the most. You can see I actually added this second stake here this morning. I originally had the wooden stakes, and my husband brought me these awesome, they're steel, I believe, coated in some sort of plastic, specifically made for staking tomato plants. So I drove that into the ground and tied them together here. Seemed to do the trick. This one is a little more tricky. I didn't have another one of those nice made for tomato plant stakes, so this one was leaning. You can see here I tied it to this frame, and down there I tied it to a shorter stake that I had into the frame in another spot. Hopefully, I mean, it's a little wiggly. I will try to fix it up more later, but I just wanted to get them up so that as the ground dries out and the water leaves the stems. Right now the stems are nice and pliable because we got maybe 4 inches of rain in the last few days. So I was able to bend them up without snapping them. I'm just hoping that all the rain doesn't cause my leaves to yellow and curl, and you know, too much rain can be a bad thing. This one was leaning a little bit. I tied it to the frame here again. I had this one back here. It was just kind of bowing out away from the fence in this direction. So I tied it to each side. Like I said, I'll go through a little later and try to fix them up a little bit better. The tops of the plants, like I was saying, this one was much taller than this, and the branch completely bent down and it was snapped, so I just trimmed it up there. Same thing, this one, I just hadn't secured it all the way up to the top of the pole. So it snapped right where you can see the stem ends right there. That's where it snapped. I just completed the cut. So I did lose some parts of the plants. Same thing on this one. You can see I hadn't secured the plant all the way up the pole. So right here, this is where it snapped, and the pole goes up another 2 feet. I do have a sucker here that I think I'm going to let grow. So once again, the sucker it grows in the little elbow here. Here's the main stem and the leaf stem. and then this is the sucker. It should grow upwards, and I can just fasten that to the pole and hopefully get a few more tomatoes out of this plant. Other than that, another quick update. This plant that I had all the yellowing leaves, they started just dying off. I trimmed them. I got some feedback from our local arboretum master gardeners. I'm not sure if I agree. They said I have a soil deficiency. I did some more research. They said it was a nitrogen deficiency. I don't know how that is because I recently applied some organic fertilizer around the base of the plant. So I'm not sure. So 2 days ago, I sent out soil samples, or I mailed them to our state lab where they do the testing. Many states offer this service. You can check on your local state's website. They will usually post the instructions or a phone number or someone you can call to find out more about the testing procedure. So right now I'm awaiting my results. The website said 1 to 2 weeks is the turnaround time presently. So hopefully I'll get some more clues as to what's going on with my plants. In addition to the yellowing leaves on some of my tomato plants, I've been struggling a little bit with the melons. I did remove a bunch of the bottom leaves recently, and I'll show you here in a moment. So the leaves are discoloring a little bit, and then they turn brown and they die. So I did a little more research, a little reading, and I think my problem might be downy mildew, which is not really related to what you're probably familiar with, the powdery mildew, where the leaves get that white coating on the top, and you can spray them with some neem or some copper. I have been trying neem on the leaves. It doesn't seem to be very effective, although the bottle says that it works against downy mildew. There may be a soil deficiency as well, or a combination, or something that I just haven't heard of. So we'll find out more as I go along. This is a learning experience for me as well. But let's take a look now at I'll show you the leaves and show you a couple more things. Okay, so this is what the leaf looks like when it first starts, and then you can see a little bit of browning on this leaf here. I did remove most of the affected leaves before we got the big storm yesterday. Here's another example of one of the affected leaves. This one's a little bit more extensive, and I can see in here. Let's get a better shot. These leaves as well. I'll have to come back and take care of that. But while we're here, let me just show you, I am excited. There are some little melons. There's one there. Oh, I saw some more here this morning. I'm looking here now. I have a leaf or a whole vine cluster that broke off from the storm. I'll have to trim that off. Here is another melon. So exciting. Something good in the garden this morning. Cucumbers are starting to come along. There's that one there. What else is under there? I think that's the biggest one on the cucumber plant at the moment. There's a little one right there. These Gardener's Delight tomatoes are starting to ripen up. I picked a bunch yesterday before the storm. because sometimes if the fruit gets too much water, they're prone to cracking, and I didn't want a bunch of cracked fruits. So that's it for now. I'm gonna go through the garden a little bit more and try to tidy things up so the disease doesn't spread anymore. I did find a giant tomato hornworm this morning. I didn't have my camera with me, and I got rid of that fella. It was about this big, just hanging out on a leaf. Destroyed him. Okay, well, until next time, I'm gonna go check status of the internet and see if the power's back on. It's highly unlikely. I hope you all fared well during the storm. Hope everybody's safe. Until next time, happy gardening. Enjoy your harvest.